I don't have a problem with R1 as it's been amended. But I have a question that it seemed to me, and I go through this, and I'm looking at this request, and the original request was for $1,036,000, and then we get the additional and new supporting documentation that shows that we're not going to need that much, and I just had a concern about not having that in the beginning and not having a clear understanding of why we're asking for certain amounts. So that's my only problem with this. I am going to move the item for approval, but I think we need to discuss the process.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second to approve this item? Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion is second to approve R1. Discussion. My concern right now is I, personally don't like borrowing money. But I do borrow money. I have borrowed money in the past when I needed to. And my question really was, do we need to borrow money for these, as it's identified, the pre-construction design services for the vacuum portion of the system? The problem I've got, not only with, as you said, Commissioner Truex, going from over $1 million down to $500,000, I'm concerned why wasn't that brought to us originally, $500,000. So I have a question on that. Why was it brought to us initially as $1 million request? I look also at the information Ms. Couture gave us on Friday. I believe all of us were emailed. It says the design work element of the Giffords-Webster contract is in the amount of $782,310, which is the starting point. Well, that number is correct. I went through that contract in great detail before I signed it. The problem is, if it's Exhibit D of that contract, the total fee to Giffords for the vacuum is, in fact, that number, $782,310. But the East-West Spring Lake MSBU portion is only $574,485. The balance of that, $207,825, were cost offsets to be paid by CCU. So I'm concerned that the starting number is obviously about $207,000 too high. So you start whittling that down. So I guess I've got additional questions. I'm just not. We got a motion to approve, but I'm going to have to vote against it because of this knowledge I have, and I need to really sit down with administration and the utility director and understand the Exhibit D that's in the contract seems to be different from what's in this memo. Ms. Couture might be able to clarify it for us.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think I can. To address the first question by Commissioner Truex and Commissioner Doherty, the amount of money that's in the MSBU assessment fund is a bit of a moving target. We have several moving pieces to it. We had prepayments. We had regular payments off the property tax bills. We initiated this visit to the use of SRF funding back in February. So by the time we got to today, the amount of the money in the fund had actually increased a little bit above where we thought that it would land, to the point now it's $624,000 remaining balance. So we got together with the Finance Department and took a look at what are the upcoming bills that will have to be paid out of this balance, and we delineated that information for you as to what we expect to have to pay for between now and November, when the next tax bill would go out, and it still left a shortfall. To address Commissioner Doherty's question, Exhibit D, the contract with Giffords-Webster, we did prepare a different column, one column called East and West Spring Lake MSBU, which were directly attributable to just the MSBU, and those costs were $574,485. And then there was another column called cost offsets, $207,825. And I guess maybe what we did not share with the Commissioner or make clear is that was always intended to come out of the connection fees. And in the assessment, there's actually two portions to an occupied home. There is a capital cost, and that's paying for the infrastructure that's going in the streets to connect them to the sewer system. And then there's a connection fee component. And it was always our intention that those connection fees would help pay for the master infrastructure, such as the master vacuum station, a little force main that also has to go in. Those are the master components. So the connection fee portion of the MSBU that has been assessed already on the tax bill and is scheduled to be assessed for 20 years is actually going to be paying for those cost offsets. They are to pay for capacity, and this is increasing the capacity to allow East and West Spring Lake come onto the sewer system. Excuse me.
Well, just I did not understand that, and I'm a little concerned. Again, this is supposed to be pre-construction design. That's what we're borrowing money for, according to the cover
Correct.
sheet. That would be hookups, which is construction. I can see that being possibly part of the next request to SRF for construction financing, but I don't see how it fits into the design. That's the problem I've got right now. I don't think we need to borrow the money, quite honestly. That's sort of where I'm sitting, and I am concerned about that number. Now, who pays back this SRF? It is the MSBU.
That's correct. Out of
Okay.
the connection fee portion and the capital cost portion of the assessment, it will be paid back.
And again, like I said, the design portion in Giffords' contract for the vacuum system that's going to be attributed to the MSBU for design, not for hookups and so forth.
Correct, yes.
It's $574,000.
Correct, but they are also designing the master vacuum station, the little force main, and actually also a little reclaimed water piece, too.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, I'm not comfortable with it. Again, I don't see the need to borrow the money at this point in time. Commissioner Truex, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You bring information to the table that I didn't have because I didn't have the opportunity or the responsibility, I guess, to read that contract. I guess I'd like to have more information about that as well, and really get more knowledge about how this thing really is working, what we really need the money for. And I don't disagree with the cost offsets, the $207,000 possibly not being part of this, but I don't understand it to say, so I'm going to actually withdraw my motion for approval. But I also have a question of what is our time frame on this particular item, and how quickly do we need to move on this, getting this application in?
At the present time, according to the agenda item that you have in front of you, the county has 210 days from the date the priority list was developed to apply. I believe that gives us a little bit of time on that. I don't know the exact date, but 210 days, we have a few months. But it takes a little bit of time to get all the paperwork completed, and the bills will be coming in shortly.
Right. And what will we be receiving from Giffords Webster, their opinion of costs fairly soon on the 60% drawing?
The end of April.
End of April. Again, I'd like that be a great time to look at all of this, to really understand really what our needs are for financing. Commissioner?
Yeah, not wanting to waste time and effort, I wasn't sure how big our window was, and I was listening when I was in the restroom on the speaker system, but we could, if it was tighter, we could always apply and then choose not to accept it. It's a procedure which isn't a favorable one, and one that you don't want to do an awful lot. But, you know, that's another option. If the window is shorter, we could proceed and then not accept it later on. It's not the most desirable, but if we had less time, that would have been another option, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, Commissioner Constance.
Yeah, and I just want to, I'm looking over the documents, and this interest rate is 5%?
No, sir, it's actually less. It's less than 3%. But in order to complete the application, finance built in a 5% maximum. That's not what it's going to be, but that was just a cushion they put in there.
I think it's
It's less than 3%.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this till such time we have the documentation back from Giffords Webster, and hopefully that's going to be April, May, early May, and that we readdress this at that time with full information.
I will second that.
I'll say,
Okay, any additional discussion? This item will be moved to the R1, will be moved to hopefully April 8th or April 22nd, subject to getting all the data pulled together. Commissioner Duffy.
Thank you. I have a question. Ms. Couture, I'm just looking at the costs, anticipated costs. Administrative costs, mail, postage, and handling. How many mailings do you think you're going to need to do with this?
But we're sending out notifications to the property owners on various stages of the process, and there will be one also for, we have to pay for the mail-out for the tax bill, so
You have to pay for the mail-out of the tax bill
for pieces of that, yes, ma'am.
for next year in November?
Yes, well, actually, there are mail-outs that go out before, but yes,
Oh.
it is charged to the MSBU.
Once it's approved, the whole MSBU is approved in the project, you still have to send things out?
Well, we're not at that point yet. But yes, annually, there will be charges to the MSBU for administrative costs.
That's a lot. That seems like an awful lot of money. $3,000? There's 1,800 properties, correct?
There's 1,855 occupied. There's 2,450 some
Okay, 24.
total.
Okay. And also, Mr. Sandrock, do you have any comments on this? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts?
No, I was just, I spent a moment with Mr. White. We've used this process for, I couldn't even tell you how many MSBU projects, but just my question to him was, you know, is there anything unusual about what we're doing here that we haven't done hundreds of times before? And we both agree that this is our normal process. Now, while you have questions, and we want you to be comfortable with that, you know, we certainly will pull back and get that for you. But it's just, when I review it and think back of whether it's a paving project, a drainage project, this type of project, this is our way of going through it. So, but we will certainly get you the information you need.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to, any additional discussion? Okay, motion and second to defer action on R1 until such time as staff brings back additional financial information. Hopefully that'll dovetail with the opinion of cost coming in from Giffords Webster so we can get a better picture of the entire MSBU assessment. Commissioner Duffy.
Is the motion to delay till a time certain, or just?
As needed by staff
Okay.
and let staff, hopefully in April. I think that's the intent.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Hearing none, it's passed unanimously. Commissioners, let's take a